What life was like 60 years ago. 1. The Beatles were still a band. 1964 was the height of Beatlemania. The Beatles debuted on The Ed Sullivan Show in February. The broadcast drew more than 73 million viewers. 2. Getting a credit card was super easy. You didn't even have to apply for them. Banks routinely sent cards in the mail unsolicited. This practice existed until 1970. 3. Humans hadn't walked on the moon. In 1968, Apollo 7 orbited the moon. Apollo 11 made the first landing 11 months later. 4. A gallon of gas cost 30 cents. That's an equivalent of $3.03 today. Today the national average is $3.68. 5. Getting cash meant going to the bank. Before 1969, there were no ATMs in America. 6. There was no Memorial Day. The holiday was originally called Decoration Day. It wasn't officially recognized until 1971. 7. Heart transplants weren't available. The first successful heart transplant was done in 1967. It was completed by South African surgeon Christian Barnard. 8. Air travel was much faster. That's because boarding times were very short. Almost anything was allowed on board. 9. Plane tickets were a lot more expensive. Air travel was a luxury in the 1960s. The Boeing 747 only debuted in 1969. It held twice as many passengers as its predecessor. This caused a dramatic drop in ticket prices. 10. Dialing involved clockwise finger rotation. Push-button phones became available commercially in 1963, but they remained a novelty for years. Most households had rotary phones well into the 1970s. 11. People got married much earlier. The median age for first marriages in America was 23 in 1968. Women married even younger, at 20. Today, it's 28.6 for women and 30.5 for men. 12. Most TVs were black and white. There were only 3 networks in the US: ABC, CBS, and NBC. Unlike most European channels, they broadcast in color. Walt Disney's Wonderful World of Color premiered in 1961, but it took until 1972 for color TVs to outsell B&W sets. 13. Phone calls meant staying in one spot. A cordless phone prototype was invented in 1965, but it didn't become popular for residential use until the early 80s. The first cell phone came along in 1979. The digital cell phone only followed in 1988. 14. All movies were unrated. The rating system was only introduced in 1968. Racy movies would be denied release. They had to rely on self-censorship. A movie ticket cost around $1.42 in 1969. 15. Contact lenses didn't exist. Soft contacts didn't appear until 1971. Glass contacts did exist, but they weren't popular. 16. Walmart was a small family business. The Waltons had just 24 stores in 1967. Walmart became a publicly traded company in 1970. Most of the goods sold in stores were American-made. The spelling was changed to Walmart in 1981. 17. Local calls were only 7 digits. Calling someone in the same town didn't require an area code. This only changed in the early 2000s. Telecom operators started running out of numbers. 18. Soda cans had pull tabs. The push-through tab was invented in 1975. Before that, beaches used to be littered with discarded pull tabs. Hence the Jimmy Buffett lyrics.
I blew out my flip-flop, stepped on a pop-top,